I'm Joel Sharpton, one half of the Articulate Coven Podcast, and this is 5 things you probably missed in Episode 1, Season 1 of Interview with the Vampire. Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire from AMC and AMC Plus is now available on Netflix, and if you're watching it for the first time, whether there or somewhere else, I want to make sure you notice a few things that you might have missed in Episode 1. This video and every video on our channel was made possible by our patrons, including the Queen of the Damned herself, Nancee Ward. This one's for you, Nancee. Lestat can be seen when we first flash back to New Orleans. Louis drives by as Lestat reads a map with his back to the camera, then sees Louis for the first time. His outfit is a direct callback to Lestat's look at the beginning of the 1994 film as he first attacks Brad Pitt's Louis. Paul, Louis's brother, is called a citizen priest by one of Louis's workers. Paul has a habit of accosting the sex workers in Louis's employ with perhaps well-meaning but very unwanted sermons about the sinful nature of their lifestyle and their current location. If you've never visited New Orleans in person, you might not know that this is actually something you can still see happening today. No, there are no brothels in downtown New Orleans anymore, but Bourbon Street still exists, which is full of strip clubs and bars. And yes, church groups do walk up and down the street sermonizing the crowds, whether they ask for it or not. Paul's inclusion in this TV series is one of my favorite things about it, and one of the best changes from the 1994 film adaptation. Paul's tragedy is slightly different in the novel, but it is the event that spurs Louis into a downward spiral into Lestat's arms. The first time we hear Lestat speak, he's off camera wooing Miss Lily while Louis is still looking for her. Lestat says this:
Seul l'impossible peut faire l'impossible,
which is French for only the impossible can do the impossible. In Anne Rice's second novel in this series, The Vampire Lestat, Lestat's first love, Nicolas de l'Enfant, uses those exact same words to describe Lestat. They are the first words that Nicky ever says to our blonde Frenchman. We get another hint of Nicky in this episode when Lestat plays his music box with a song that he had written for Nicolas de l'Enfant. One thing I noticed about Netflix is they are not captioning Lestat's French. Now, I'll do my best to catch that and make sure that we discuss any very important French that Lestat uses. But if you're loving this series, I can't recommend enough that you either subscribe to AMC Plus and get the full versions, or buy them from a digital storefront like Amazon or Apple. In any of those cases, that version of the episode will include full captions of Lestat's French. Also, you can skip ahead and get the second season if you buy them or get them from AMC Plus. In the scene where Louis and Lestat first meet properly, Lestat is explaining why he decided to live in New Orleans instead of his originally planned St. Louis. When I watched a man pull a knife out of his walking stick and press the blade to his brother's breastbone. That's a translation of the French here. Lestat was attracted to Louis because of his brashness and hot temper. Foreshadowing. Storyville and Tom Anderson were both very real. The so-called red light district in New Orleans, Storyville, existed from 1897 to 1917. The Kitchen Sisters podcast did an excellent episode featuring a recording from Storyville of Tennessee Williams and his then lover using a coin-operated recording booth. The character of Bricktop Williams is invented for the show as an amalgam of several historical figures, but the name came from the very real Ada Bricktop Smith, although Ada was not particularly connected with New Orleans in any way. I gave you 5 already, but here's your lagniappe fact. Lagniappe means, in Cajun French, a little something extra. Often in South Louisiana, if you buy something from a store, you'll get a piece of candy that you didn't pay for as a lagniappe. So here's your extra fact today. Louis says at the graveside, "When the gathering cut loose the body, I could not join the transformation of those in attendance." If you've ever heard of a jazz funeral, this is what Louis is describing. A jazz funeral, not to be confused with a second line, which can happen for very many reasons or for no reason at all, is a custom that's still done today, for those who can't afford the band anyway. The musicians lead the mourners to the graveside with a dirge. Slow, sad, certainly spiritual in nature. The graveside sermon is given. Maybe we put some flowers on the casket, and then the attendants are led away from the grave back to town by the band, now transformed, playing a joyful celebration of life. Both for the deceased and for all of us remaining. Yes, these happen all the time, year-round, occasionally even with a family that's not that wealthy. So there you go. 5 things you probably missed in episode 1, season 1 of Interview with the Vampire. I'll be back with another video for episode 2. I hope you're enjoying the series on Netflix, on AMC Plus, or wherever you're watching it. If you'd like more content about Anne Rice, her books, and this series in particular, well, look no further than this YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel for more, like the full episodes of the Articulate Coven Podcast, where we talk about the Immortal universe, Interview with the Vampire, Mayfair Witches, and so much more. And make sure you've watched my video on Interview with the Vampire 101, where I tell you all the things you'll want to know before you watch this series on Netflix. Thanks for watching.